Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And is Microsoft really going to acquire another big studio before the launch of the Xbox Series X? There is definitely some talk among the game community that this will happen, but is there actually any truth to this? Well, we're going to dive into that here in just a moment. Also, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 are clearly very anticipated items this holiday, as customers will rush out to buy these brand new products. But however, one analyst believes that the Nintendo Switch will still come out being the winner for this holiday. So stick around and we will talk about that as well. Before we get into all that though, we do have a lot more to talk about, so let's get right into it. And right away, I think you BioShock fans out there will probably be pretty happy about this, but it looks like Ken Levine's next game is in late production according to a new job advertisement. If you don't know who that is or why it's exciting, he was the creative director for BioShock 1 and Infinite, and now that Irrational Games have rebranded their studio to Ghost Story Games, they're looking to make a brand new game. Yeah, this is a very talented studio, so of course there's going to be a lot of excitement for whatever this game will be. Now, this is a small to mid-sized studio of around just 35 people, but that doesn't necessarily speak to what the scale of this game will or won't be. You have to remember that Hellblade was only developed by about 20 people over at Ninja Theory, and we're definitely seeing an uptick in AA games here recently. I think that there is a lot of talent in the game industry right now, so you can see smaller studios develop bigger games if that's something they want to do, and 35 people is definitely capable of doing so. What we do know though is that it will be an immersive sci-fi game with first-person shooter and RPG elements. So we need to know a little bit more about this game, but on paper, it's very exciting. BioShock is a great franchise, and I'm interested to see what Ken Levine can do with a new game. And luckily, because it's in late production, we might start to hear about it rather soon. In fact, the studio was formed in 2017, so they've probably been working on this game for quite a while. Moving on, let's talk about Genshin Impact for just a moment. We've talked about this game a few times in the last couple weeks as it's really just exploded onto the scene. It's estimated to have around 23 million downloads on mobile devices alone. Yeah, that doesn't even include the PlayStation 4 and the PC, but when you have a game like this and it's developed by a third party, there's always that question as to when will it be available on other platforms. Well, I have good news and some bad. The good news is that it will be coming to the Nintendo Switch, and they just now confirmed it will also be coming to the PlayStation 5. Yeah, that's a pretty good game to have on the PlayStation 5 early on, and it's free to play. Now, we don't know exactly when just yet, but they do have plans for that, so that's very good news. Unfortunately though, the developer says they have no plans for an Xbox version, which isn't exactly what you want to hear. I know anime-type games aren't always as big on Xbox as other platforms, but I think this game could do well on Xbox if given the chance. Who knows though, as this game becomes more and more popular, there is a very real chance that they may change their mind in the future. For the time being though, don't expect Genshin Impact to come to the Xbox platform anytime soon. And speaking of free-to-play games, the Nintendo Switch might be getting a big one rather soon, as Apex Legends just got rated by the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Now, we've known for a while that a port of Apex Legends would be coming to the Switch, but now that it's been rated, that could point towards an imminent release. To be fair, that's not always the case, but it seems like a lot of the times when you see these ratings appear online, there isn't an announcement shortly after. So we could end up getting a reveal and release date of the Switch version sometime this month. At the very least, I imagine it will be out by the end of this year. Of course, I'm just guessing, so I have no way of knowing that, but based off past trends, I think we'll probably hear about this sooner rather than later. This will be an interesting game on the Switch though. It'll immediately be one of the better first-person shooters, and it's going to be a nice competitive multiplayer game to play on the Switch as well. The Switch isn't necessarily known for those things, so I think Apex Legends brings some nice variety to the platform. Now, unfortunately, we do have another game delay to talk about today. Like I've said in the past, it's really not surprising by this point. 2020 has been filled with game delays, and sadly, Cris is the next game to be delayed. I don't really view this as a bad thing though, because I would rather a game to be complete than rushed out with problems. That's just the way I view things, and Cris looks like it has a lot of potential. I think it's one of the better looking independent games coming out, and I love the art style in this game. For that matter, it really checks all of the boxes and what I'm looking for in games. It has a nice art style, the gameplay looks fun with its turn-based combat, and it may even have an interesting story. So again, just take your time, and when it comes out, I hope it's as great as it looks. I have to say though, 2021 is starting to look very good for independent games. I mean, you have Axiom Verge 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Cris among several others. Independent games don't always get a ton of love, but they're very important to the game industry, and I think that there are some great ones to look forward to next year. Let's talk about Xbox though, because over the last couple of days, there has been a big rumor floating around that Xbox is going to acquire another studio. So this has been spreading over on Twitter like wildfire, to the point it seems like this is to be expected, and it's apparently going to happen before the launch of the Xbox Series X. Is there actually any truth to this though? Well, I started to look into this, and it all seems to boil down to a conversation on the Xbox Era podcast between Tom Warren and Special Ed, both of which do have a pretty decent track record of having inside information. So of course fans will be paying attention to what they have to say. Well, at first Tom Warren seems to be speculating that Xbox will be acquiring one or two more studios sooner rather than later, which really wouldn't be overly surprising. The CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, did allude to them acquiring more game studios, so I do expect more acquisitions in the future. It was really the response from Special Ed that is drawing so much attention though. Unlike Tom Warren, what he says doesn't sound like simple speculation, but rather, he says he knows there is at least one more studio acquisition. Now he says he doesn't know who, but there is definitely one based off of his sources. Here's the thing though, expectations are through the roof right now regarding this rumored acquisition, and I'm seeing a lot of fans think it's going to be another acquisition the size of Bethesda, but I'm not so sure about that. I would be surprised if Microsoft made another acquisition of that size. I know there are a lot of rumors around Sega, but that's all just fan speculation, and there really isn't any official evidence that will or won't happen. For that matter, this is just a rumor for the time being, so take this with a grain of salt. Special Ed is a respected insider, so there may be some truth of another acquisition coming, but as to when or how big of a studio is currently unknown. With that said, if they are going to make another acquisition, I wonder who it could be. I've always thought Asobo would be a pretty good pickup because they're both talented and they've worked with Xbox on games like Flight Simulator. But as we've seen over the last couple years, there really is no predicting this type of stuff when it comes to Microsoft. They certainly have a lot of money, so you really can't rule out anybody. Again though, just take all of this information with a grain of salt. Staying on topic of Xbox for just a moment though, we now got some more information on how the Xbox GameStop deal is going to work. So check this out. Not only will GameStop be offering Xbox All Access, which is going to be big for pushing Xbox sales, but GameStop will also share revenue with Microsoft from all digital content sold on an Xbox that they've sold. In other words, if you buy an Xbox from GameStop, anytime you buy digital content on your Xbox, not only will Microsoft get money, but so will GameStop. Yeah, that seems pretty aggressive on Microsoft's part, but actually this is very smart. Basically, GameStop will have a pretty big incentive on selling Xboxes to customers, and it also allows GameStop to participate in digital sales a little bit more. If anything, it definitely sounds like GameStop may try to promote Xbox a little more based off this deal, and they'll probably be letting customers know about Xbox All Access, where you can pay just $25 a month in order to own an Xbox Series and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That could be a really big deal for customers, and based off what I'm hearing, I think GameStop is going to try and push that pretty heavily going forward. Really though, it sounds like this is a win-win situation for both GameStop and Xbox. On to our last topic though, one respected NPD analyst, Matt Piscatella, believes that the Nintendo Switch will be the best-selling console this holiday, which may come as a surprise to some people. Of course, there is a ton of excitement surrounding the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, so we can't ignore that. But according to Matt, he believes that there will be a lack of inventory for those products, while the Switch will be easier to find. And okay, that does make sense. Xbox and PlayStation can only sell as many consoles as they can produce, and theoretically, they could be sold out absolutely everywhere and still sell less than the Switch. That is very possible, but I also want to point out how insanely well the Switch has been selling all year long. I mean, if we're talking about stock issues, It's been hard getting a Switch this year, pretty much since people got put onto lockdown. Even to this day, the Switch has been coming and going out of stock, so it's clearly in high demand as well. And truthfully, it's crazy to think about how many consoles they sold this year. During some months, they've sold more than any console ever in the history of gaming during that specific month. So with that said, we could be seeing the Nintendo Switch continue to sell out this holiday. It's certainly going to be a very hot product with a strong library of games like the breakout hit Animal Crossing New Horizons, Pokemon, Smash Bros., or the countless other big Switch games. So I think even if Xbox and PlayStation had more stock, the Switch could still go toe-to-toe with them. I think with all the excitement around next generation, we often forget just how successful the Switch has been, and I don't think it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. In fact, we could be looking at its biggest holiday yet. Of course, it all depends on how much stock they get, but I will say this. Whether you get the Xbox Series, the PlayStation 5, the Switch, or a combination of all three, I think gamers are going to win. There are some incredible games to look forward to, and it's a very exciting time to be a gamer. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.